Good morning. How are you?
Good
Just
morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
Semester going okay so far, Aslan?
So far, it's okay. Love being back on campus. So it's great to see people and go to clubs. And this year I'm playing flag football.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's been really, really, really fun doing that.
Good, good.
And how's your weekend going?
Oh, it's always busy. What can you say? Never a dull moment. Zakia, are you between phone and screen? Is that why you're logged in twice? She may not be hearing us yet either. Okay.
What'd you say, Joe?
I said, are you logged in on screen or phone or both?
Two different screens trying to figure out the live stream.
Mm. Okay. Arslan, a piece of advice.
Yes.
If you are ever in a position to hire somebody to be a chief of staff or your right hand, find the duplicate of Zakia Lee. And I'm just telling you, she can do anything and everything and does it.
I will definitely keep that in mind. And I know Zakia, I mean, she's also an advisor for us at USMSC, and she's just been incredible. I mean, like incredible. She knows everything about everything.
I know.
Um, and if she doesn't, she'll find out a way to know, and she'll relate it back to us. So just incredible. And we're incredibly lucky to have Zakia on our team. For
You
sure.
betcha.
Morning, everyone. Thanks for being a little bit early to the meeting. We appreciate your timeliness. And hello, Joe. Hello, Nina. Thank you all for joining. We appreciate it. We're just going to give a couple more minutes just to give everyone an opportunity to join. Again, this is our first meeting of the semester, so we want to give people a little bit of time to adjust. So just give us a couple minutes and we'll begin. Thank you very much.
Anna, this is Joe. It's good to see you again.
You too. Yep, I'm here for second year. Kia and I are both going to be the reps for this year as well.
Sorry, everybody. We're just having some technical. It seems like Yvonne's having some technical issues, unfortunately. We've been having some trouble with the access to the account, but we'll just give it a couple more minutes so that she can get on. For now, let's just say 11:05. That's okay. So we'll just give everybody 3 minutes before we jump back on. Thank you so much, everyone.
Stefan and Arsalan, you may want to suggest, or I would suggest, that people put the initials of their institution after their name, rename themselves, so that we can kind of keep track of who is representing whom. That is often helpful, at least at the first of the year.
Yeah, I agree. So as Joe mentioned, if you can just go ahead And after your name, rename yourself as, if you're from UMD and representing UMD today, then you can put UMD or UMB or whatever university/institution you're representing. So I can see Marshad doing it, so that's also fine. Yeah. Mhm. Stefan, while Yvonne is coming in, do you mind taking the attendance, or I can do that as well, just to make sure that we have institutions representing today?
Oh yeah, of course. So I was actually planning to do that in the minutes, so that's no problem. And it is 11:05. Yvonne said that she will, she's still having some issues, unfortunately, but she will be able to either jump on via call or figure out the video. She said for us to go ahead and start. We want to respect y'all's time. So basically, Arslan, did you want to pull up the PowerPoint and then we can begin sharing from the beginning?
Just give me 1 second. Yeah.
No problem. And for anybody that just joined, if you didn't hear, please put at the end of your name the initials of your institution so that we have an idea of, so that we just know which school you represent. And again, so we can familiarize ourselves a little bit with each other. Thank you all so much. And yeah, if it's not working, Jordan, no worries. I see Towson on this, so you're good. Appreciate it.
Are you guys able to see the presentation? Can you guys see it?
Yeah, we're good, Arslan, I think.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So we'll get started. Yvonne, I don't think it's still here, but that's totally fine. We'll we'll get started. So yes, thank you everyone for taking the time out to come to our official September meeting. This meeting is starting at 11 and we're probably going to end by 2. And we'll try our best to see if we can even end earlier, but really thank you so much for your time, and we hope to get started right now. So let me try to click on the thing if it lets me. Okay, we'll just do it this way. Just as a reminder, Yvonne, she's our president for the USMSC this year. I'm Arslan. I'm from College Park. I am the VP of Undergraduate Affairs. And then Stefan, he is also a graduate student from University of Baltimore. And if you have questions, and if you have any questions, you can always reach us. And our emails are listed right here. Just a few protocols and reminders. We want to make sure that your cameras are on throughout the meeting. If you guys need to head out for a minute or two, that's totally fine. You can turn your cameras off. I know it is a long meeting, so that's expected and that's fine. But especially when you're talking, do be mindful. Keep your cameras on so that we know who's talking. Also, just a quick reminder: this meeting is being live streamed, so just be aware of what you say, and your surroundings, maybe your clothes as well, because folks can go back and look at what is being said or what has been said. Also, for the parliamentary procedures, we will be following the Roberts Rule, but it's not going to be strictly followed. No one's going to be enforcing that, but that's just kind of the that's in our bylaws, and we want to make sure that that's being followed at least loosely for the time being. And then also our meetings will be virtual for at least this semester, and we'll go back to we'll reassess the situation in the spring. That can also be virtual, but we will discuss that and we'll let you guys know for later on. And so with that, we can go to the executive reports. So Yvonne's not here, but I can give you mine. This past week, we've been working on, getting the directors of government affairs and communications and so on and so forth, looking at their resumes. We were also looking at seeing ways we can build collaboration and partnerships with other organizations, and you'll hear from Mary Perg very soon. And so we're just working on how we can build on those relationships from last year. That's primarily what we've done this past week, but I'm sure there's more to hear. So, Stefan, if you want to talk about the graduate affairs executive report.
Of course. So yeah, in the past couple of weeks, we've done a lot. Like we said there, relationship building, learning, and preparing. Those are kind of the three themes that I think have informed our first month on the job, really, or first month with students back on campus. And I think just having meetings with individual institutions has been very productive. My goal this year, or this semester rather, is to meet with every graduate representative at least once, just so we can familiarize ourselves with each other and really get an opportunity to understand how we can support each other. And just going forward, I think that this is going to be an awesome opportunity for us to develop issues and understand causes that we care about. And yeah, that Arsalan kind of summed it up, but that's all I really had to add. So look out for emails from me, basically. Thank you.
So now we're going to move on to campus reports. I will call on each university. And if you guys can just spend 2 minutes really quickly summarizing the campus reports that you sent in. So just as a reminder, it's kind of like, a sentence about what accomplishment have you done this past summer, and has there been any questions or concerns that you've been seeing on your campuses that you've been hearing from your students, and what would be something that you would want from us as the USMSC? Is there something that you would like to change internally? Are there any rules and procedures that you're kind of have questions about or want to see reformed or whatever? Please bring that up, and we can talk about that later on in the breakout rooms or in the open forum. So with that, I can call on if we have Bowie State here.
Before we begin, Arslan, I just wanted to say as well, when you begin your report, please just introduce yourself very briefly. Just not everybody was at the onboarding meeting, so take that opportunity, just introduce yourself very briefly, like your name, whether you're the graduate, undergraduate representative, whatever your situation is. And yeah, just add that on to whatever you feel you have to share. I know it's kind of a lot, but we just want a general update about what you're doing at your campus. So again, thank you.
So yeah, Bowie State. I don't know if I see Bowie State here.
Yeah, Bowie State is here. I'm Danielle.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's fine. So this is my first year on the council. Like I said, my name is Danielle Ziegler. So Liberty Davenport was supposed to be on this meeting with me, and she had more information because she was on this council last year. But I can give you a quick update because we just had a meeting on Friday. So we just had our first town hall for the graduate students, and it went really well. So we went over COVID protocols, COVID testing for students, and then our new protocol for coming on campus and having a green badge, which went pretty well. As of now, we've only had 4 COVID cases reported this school year, which is really great. So we're hoping that that stays intact. So that's a quick summary for Bowie State.
Frostburg. I don't know if I don't think I see a Frostburg here.
Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, Salisbury.
Hi, my name's Jessie,
Hello.
and I'm the graduate representing Salisbury University. So we've been really strict with our COVID policies. We do have a vaccine mandate, and with exceptions for religious reasons. And then those people are tested twice weekly. We just started making available take-home tests for employees, and I think they're going to do that for students as well. I'm not sure the specifics on that one. So that even if you're asymptomatic, you can still have access to testing.
Awesome. And is it Jessie?
Jessie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you mind telling us your major and your year?
Yeah,
if you
sorry.
don't mind.
So I'm an MS candidate in applied biology, specifically immunotoxicology. So I get to ask all the really good questions about what's going on right now and our policies. And I think that's it, right? So yeah, applied biology, and I graduate in May.
Awesome. That is so cool.
Right.
Yeah, I'm also a bioengineering major, so some of those things, immunology, that kind of stuff is really interesting to me too. So yeah, nice to have you, Jesse.
Yeah, and I was
Uh,
5 minutes late because I was rescuing turtles from the side of the road. So I'm so sorry about that.
you're no worries. Towson University.
Hello, my name's Marcus. I'm the grad representative for Towson University. This is my first year as a grad student, first year on the USM Council, and I'm in the environmental science program. So like I said, this is my first year, so I'm still kind of learning about issues that people are having around campus. But we did have a meet and confer a couple weeks ago for the graduate assistants. And a lot of people were talking about stipend levels and parking passes. So I think those are kind of the main issues on our campus right now. And in terms of COVID, I know we are somewhere over 90% vaccinated. Um, yeah, so doing pretty well, I guess, in terms of that.
Awesome. That is so good to. Hey, I don't know. I don't see who is speaking, but hey.
Sorry, it's Jordan DeVoe. I tried to send you a private message. I'm actually en route back to campus right now, so I am just a few minutes away. But forgive me for having my camera off. I just felt it'd be a little distracting. But I'm the SGA president here at Towson, and I'm so excited to report that we are just echoing the sentiments that were just raised. We are about 94% vaccinated. We do have a vaccine mandate as well. This past Monday, the 13th, was the deadline for students or all community members at Towson to show a good faith effort that they've received their first shot or they've reported and been approved for their exemption. So we had 109 students that were no longer able to be enrolled at Towson, which is small in the grand scheme of our campus community, so it didn't really shift the percentage, but that was an action taken by the administration earlier this week. And in response to the shooting that took place over Labor Day weekend, which I mentioned last week during the breakout sessions, we did have a campus safety forum that following Thursday, which went well and was really great for students and families to receive some reassurance about what the campus is going to look like as we are proactive about preventing these things going forward. And I'm trying to think, we also had tabling at the SGA for the red zone, which is essentially a period of time where students on college campuses are more vulnerable to acts of trigger warning sexual violence. So that was taking place on campus as well. We also have started weekly involvement fairs on Wednesdays from 11 to 1 for all student organizations that wish to participate. So that's a little bit of a report on what we've been up to. It's been a little busy, but yeah.
That's awesome. Really good to hear. And I know Towson from last year, I know Annie, who was the former USMSC president, they would always have, it'd always be good things about Towson. They were really a fan of their administration and their folks there. So, I remember that, that was always one university that would always stand out. They wouldn't have that many complaints. But we'll see what happens this year too. University. I'm sorry.
I said fingers crossed. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, fingers crossed, and I hope the best for you guys, and I hope that remains that way.
Arsalan, I want to let you know I'm here. I was having technical difficulties. So,
hey, Yvonne.
How are you? Neither one of my computers wouldn't work this morning. How's everyone? I'm Yvonne. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Yvonne. We're just doing campus reports. We just finished with Towson University. We're going to University of Baltimore actually right now.
Okay. Hi, University of Baltimore. Hello, Towson, Salisbury. I came in on Salisbury. Thank you guys for your reports.
So I just wanted to say, I know that Randy, the representative from University of Baltimore, is actually going to be a little late this meeting, so we can go ahead and skip him. And if we do, if he does arrive before the end, we can go back to him. But
Okay.
just for the record, everybody, just so we know, we are just to stay on time, we're just going to be providing 2 minutes for each group. And I didn't make this clear, but I'll say when there's like 30 seconds left in your presentation, just so that you have an actual idea of how much time you've been talking for, just to let everybody know.
Thank you.
Hey, Ashton. Oh, sorry, Sydney. Is your first name Sydney?
Yeah, that's me.
Hey, Sydney,
There's
how
two
are
of
you?
us from UMB, so I'll try to be quick. But yeah, my name is Sydney Ashton. I'm a 5th year doctoral candidate in the program in neuroscience at UMB. This is my first year on this council, and I represent the Graduate Student Association at UMB. A couple, I guess, major updates that have happened recently is the GSA successfully petitioned for increased stipends for some of our programs. That went into effect on July 1st. We're still working on getting some, equity across those programs, but we also are in the process of forming an annual review board that would look at stipends each year and the cost of living in Baltimore. So we're really excited about that. We also we just, as a university, hired a chief officer of diversity, equity, inclusion that we're really excited about, and the students had input on throughout that hiring process. So we're looking forward to collaborating with her more. And I guess for COVID, another thing is we also just got the numbers to be released on vaccination and positive cases on campus. So there's now like a dashboard online that anyone can look at to see what's going on. And I'll pass it over to Aishwarya if she has anything to add for UMB.
Hi everyone, my name is Aishwarya. I'm a 4th year MD PhD student. Right now my PhD in biochemistry, and Sydney did a great job highlighting all the main things that have been going on. Just one or two more things to add in terms of like our student vaccination rate on campus. Over 98% of on-campus students have been vaccinated. And then another accomplishment is that we finally established a sustainability department on campus for the first time, which is great. And this is my first year.
Cool, nice to have you on. Is it Aishwarya? Is that how you pronounce it? Aishwarya?
Aishwarya. I also go by Aishu, and I'm the student body president of UMB this year.
Oh, nice to have you. Okay, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I see Rashad, I believe.
Yep, I can start and I'll pass it up to Joel. So I'll start with some accomplishments. Oh, sorry. Hi everyone, my name is Rashad Devin. I'm a biology major at UMBC, and I use the he series pronouns, and I am the SJ president. I'll start with some accomplishments that UMBC did this past summer. So we opened a new Center for Wellbeing to kind of place a heavy emphasis on mental, physical, and spiritual health of the students. So that includes a new clinic, some counseling, and some gathering spaces for religious student organizations to gather and do their thing. I think last I heard, we have over 80% vaccination rate of the student body, and UMBC just welcomed their largest incoming class this year in their history. So that was really neat to see. Some of the issues that we have been facing, especially in regard to the new building, is that our Muslim community has been, kind of battling the administration regarding the new building, because the previous building, which was actually just a bunch of trailers, had additional spaces for the Muslim students to kind of gather and practice their religion the way they want to. But this new building is a little bit more restricted. So just yesterday, we stepped in to kind of represent them in front of admin. So that's been happening. And we've kind of been working to battle the inequities we've noticed regarding how incompliant and unvaccinated faculty and staff are treated versus incompliant, unvaccinated students are treated. So I think last week we unenrolled around 40 students, and because they were not being compliant. And I think if that happens to faculty and staff, they just have to take a test twice a week, and they'll continue their job. So we're working with people to kind of battle that. Then I'll pass it up to Joel to add anything I missed.
Thank you. I'm Joel Tyson. I wasn't at the first meeting, but
30 seconds, by the way.
Okay. I'm a fourth year PhD student in the chemical engineering department. I'm serving as GSA president. I think Marshad covered a lot of things. Our themes this year are mental health and well-being for graduate students. We have at UMBC a really large international population, so intercultural communication is something that we want to facilitate. We also want to facilitate a feeling of belonging for graduate students on campus. So we've started some initiatives to feature graduate students and also a graduate student success committee, which facilitates graduate student success using a holistic well-being approach. That's my 30 seconds.
Awesome. Next, we have College Park.
I'll go first and then I'll hand it off to Kisley. Hi, everyone. My name is Tamara Allard, and I am a fourth-year PhD student studying developmental psychology at the University of Maryland, College Park. I'm also the president of the graduate student government at UMD. In terms of, I guess, some things we've been working on and some successes we've had, the big issue for graduate students at Maryland is stipend levels and housing, something I've heard kind of echoed from others that have gone before me. Specifically, we recently passed a resolution asking PG County to cap rent increases. This is something that already exists in several other counties across the state of Maryland. We're also advocating for some new housing around campus, but we're also still planning to take up the collective bargaining fight so that we can kind of get some more power in terms of our ability to advocate for ourselves. In terms of COVID, the last time I checked, the campus-wide, we're at 97% vaccinated. Students are at 94%. And in terms of disenrollment, because we do have the vaccine requirement, we disenrolled 79 students. That was the last I heard from our school newspaper. I don't really have a ton else to add. So if I can just hand it over to Kisley and give him a chance to speak also.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kesla. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm a computer engineering senior at UMD, and I'm the student body president. So things that have been happening at our campus, I think Tamara just summed up most of it, but we do have a new dean of students, which is a position that we're looking forward to, because that's our first position, which will be interacting primarily with students, and that's in the job title. Then we have other things happening with, well, N95 masks will be distributed to the campus body tomorrow onwards, which is the new recommended mask situation by the CDC. Our campus has 98% vaccination record right now as of Friday, which is pretty amazing for us, since we're 50,000 people strong now. Then there are conversations happening on Red Zone event as well. I believe Dawson mentioned it. We are also doing the same. And then there is a big conversation about abolish Greek life happening on our campus because of the sexual misconduct issues on campus and other different issues with Greek life. So that's a conversation that we are having. I think that should sum it up for most of the other things from undergraduate side. Also fees. Fees is always an issue.
Thanks so much, Kisley and Tamara. Next on the list, we have UMCs.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Wendell. I'm a fourth-year PhD candidate at UMCs, which stands for University of Maryland Center for Environmental Sciences. And we are a unique program. We are spread out throughout the state. We have 4 labs. I'm located at Horn Point Lab, which is in Cambridge, Maryland on the Eastern Shore. We have a lab in Solomons, Maryland, Frostburg, Maryland, and Baltimore. And each lab has about 25 grad students. And so we only have about 90 to 100 grad students. So we are a smaller institution, I am the chair of the Graduate Student Council, and Kia, who is here, I'll let her introduce herself after, is the co-chair. So earlier in the summer in June, we had our meet and confer meeting at UMC's, which went pretty well. We're happy with the meet and confer program, but we brought up collective bargaining, and we did want to educate our students about, what collective bargaining is. So we're working on creating a one-pager kind of just to distribute so students know about it. And if they want to get involved, they can reach out to the Fearless Student Employee Group at College Park. We met with them a couple weeks ago just to get more information and be better informed to educate UMC students about it. We are at a 98% COVID vaccination rate across UMC's. So we're doing pretty well there. We're also working with administration to see if we can get a budget. Our Graduate Student Council, we don't have a budget, and we thought it would be beneficial to invite speakers and hold different workshops. So we're working with admin about that and kind of comparing budgets from other schools. And Zakia helped us with that earlier last year. Kia and I served last year, so we were kind of familiar with the student council and yeah, so I'll let Kia, if you want to introduce yourself, go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Kia, and as Anna said, I'm the co-chair of the Graduate Student Council at UMC's, and I'm located at the Institute of Marine and Environmental Technology, which is the lab in Baltimore that Anna mentioned. Yeah, just about me, I'm a third-year PhD student, and I study algal biotechnology. So nice to meet everyone.
Hey, nice to see you again, Kia.
It's nice to see you guys, Anna and Kia. It's nice to see you guys again. For you ladies.
Good to see you too.
Okay, next on the list we have Eastern Shore.
Hello everyone, my name is Chinedu Ahuchogo. I am the Vice President of the Graduate Student Government. I'm doing a PhD in Food and Agricultural Sciences. And this is my first year on this student council. All right, so update from our own end, just like everybody has been saying concerning the COVID-19 issue. It's been made a requirement that everybody should get vaccinated. But if you're not vaccinated, you either come with a comment or a letter from your health representative or your priest, whichever religion it is, before you're permitted to do anything. But for those who have not been vaccinated, there's a bi-weekly COVID testing, which is done in the school, just to be sure that they keep a tab on the number of people and what's happening so far. Some other update which we have, or which has been better since the virtual training and virtual classes thing, is a tracking system between faculty and students. Because of the virtual thing, it was an issue with students getting the direct communication with faculty and staff, but now it's better in terms of being able to track students' updates, letting them know what to do, when to do it. So for now, we have a better system within the school. I don't know if we should talk about our concerns, or that will come up much later in the course of this discussion. If we have to talk about concerns, one thing we are thinking about or considering is the next set of graduation that we're doing. If it's going to be in person, number of people who will be allowed in each case, because in the last 1.5 years, it's just you who is graduating, going in to get your papers. In some cases, it's even virtual. So we want to be sure how that is going to work out. That's all we have from our own end for now.
Awesome, thank you so much. And glad to have you on the student council this year. Global Campus.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I wasn't for sure because I keep going in and out, so I do apologize. I'm not sure what's wrong with my internet connection today. Hi, my name is Barbara Archer. Glad to be here today. I am the executive chair for STAC at University of Maryland Global Campus. Just wanted to start off by saying that at UMGC, I would say that we're about 90% vaccinated at UMGC. Recently, we had a summit meeting at the at the Marriott Hotel, which is next to the campus, which we were able, they wanted to get some feedback from us students regarding what our experiences are, whether it's negative or positive. It was a great experience because we was able to share our experiences. Right now, we're just working on some other programs, that will help, especially with mental health. That's one of the issues that we are conquering this year with the committee, as well as the inaugural for a newsletter. So we do have some things that we are working on this year, and I'm very excited to be a part of it. And thank you very much for having me this afternoon.
Thank you so much for being here today. Awesome. And then we have Shady Grove, last one.
Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa and I am a first semester grad student and also serving as the graduate representative for USG. I serve on the Graduate Student Association at USG and I'm in the Human Development Program. So I'm also new, this is my first semester on the USM Council, so I don't have too many updates, but as of like 2 weeks ago, USG is offering COVID testing on campus during certain days of the week. So if, we're still requiring all students and staff to be vaccinated except for exemptions. And if not, they do have to get tested, which having testing on campus obviously makes it a lot easier for students. There's still no mandates in terms of like physical distancing in Montgomery County. So we're still kind of working on that. But yeah, that's kind of all I have for right now.
Awesome. Awesome, Melissa. Thanks so much. And then moving on.
Arsalan.
Yes.
It's Zakia. Can I ask Alyssa, just for people who don't know, can you tell everyone what USG is, what the universities at Shady Grove is?
Yes, USG is a full service campus. So it's just a campus that houses 9 Maryland universities. So a lot of the universities here are housed at the USG campus. So we only offer specific majors there. So there are 8 graduate universities on the USG campus. So it's a little confusing. The concept's a little confusing, but that's what it is. It's basically just a campus for the 9 Maryland universities there that offer specific majors.
And where are you a student? What university are you affiliated with? I may have missed it.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm currently a human development major with UMCP with College Park at USG.
Great. And so I'll just tag on to let everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Zakia. I lead from the system office. And I'll just tag on to say that there are 2 other regional centers also, one in Southern Maryland called the University System of Maryland, Southern Maryland, and one in Hagerstown, USM Hagerstown. USG, where Alyssa is, has the most students and the most robust number-wise, volume-wise of the 3 regional centers. And USM Southern Maryland is only a year or 2 old. So they don't have the infrastructure right now to put students on the council. Hopefully within the next year or 2, they will, but we just wanted to make sure you understood what the universities at Shady Grove is and that there are 2 other regional centers that operate the same way. So your campuses may have programs at those other centers too. Thanks, Arsalan.
No problem, Zakia. And yeah, thanks so much for Alyssa, thanks so much for mentioning that as well. And then moving on, we've got the advisor reports from Joe Bowman and Zakia. So if you guys have anything to say or add. And Zakia, if you can mention as well the Chancellor conversation chats that we all are continuing this year.
Sure. Joe, do you want to go first and then I'll pop in?
I'll go first. I'm Joe Boffman, the Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, and it's wonderful to get the student leadership back together again. It was interesting that people gave the vaccination rates of 97 or 98% in just factual tones of voice. It is phenomenal what our campuses have done. We are way ahead of any other system in the country. And in fact, we are in part the drivers of the high vaccination rate. And while there are still cases going on, we do not have the same kind of surge that many other institutions do. So I want to say thank you to all of you because a lot of this has been student leadership that has been supportive of the vaccine mandate. That is the way. Vaccination is the way that we are going to get out of this pandemic. And we are really pleased and proud of everybody for doing that. We're looking forward to this year. There will be some transition. As all of you know, everybody's excited to get back together and be face to face. We are going to have to continue to monitor the situation. So there may be some moving back and forth with hybrid classes now and again, should we have a major problem or an outbreak on the campuses. And our faculty and academic leadership are working very hard to make this as engaged and smooth as we possibly can. We understand that there will be cases and people will have to be out because they either had a positive test or have to stay away for a day or two at least until they demonstrate a negative test. So our faculty are being advised about being more flexible with absenteeism, if you will. One other thing that I would say, last week, I'm not sure everybody was here, but we had Dr. Nancy Shapiro from our office talk about student civic engagement. And we are looking forward to a really involved and engaged year from our students on many issues. We're the one university system that has an entire institution devoted to environmental science. But we all know that climate change is a huge problem, and we are looking to our students to help, in fact, bring those conversations into the light and push that agenda as well. We will also be focused on voter engagement as well, but we're also very interested in the student leadership engaging and helping us work through the best way to have difficult conversations around racism, structural racism, diversity, and inclusion. We know that we need to move forward on this, and we know that one of the first things that we're going to have to do is be very good, very civil, very devoted to caring for each other while we go through some of these very difficult conversations. But we're looking forward to that as well. Zakia, those were the 2 or 3 major points I wanted to hit. What else would you like to add?
I'll tag on to that, and then I will mention what is on the screen and what Arsalan mentioned, which is the Chancellor's chats. Just to, again, tag on to what Joe is saying, we do the work that she mentioned in collaboration with the administrators on your campus. So every month, Joe and I and other members of our team meet with the provost. Those are the ones on your campus who are in charge of the academic life, curriculum, faculty affairs. And we also meet with the vice presidents for student affairs, who most of you probably know pretty well. So when we hear things there that need to come back here, we do that. And when we hear things here that need to go back there, we do that. And then there are other groups that we convene too. And depending on which committees you all serve on, or if some people who will be on the board of directors are here, we'll loop you into those groups and those stakeholders at the University System of Maryland office as appropriate. But I just wanted you to know who we're talking to on campus as far as folks that you may be involved with. It's your vice presidents for student affairs. We just met with them Friday, and it's the provost. We see them in a week or two. The Chancellor's Chat, Chancellor's Conversation Series. When Chancellor Jay Perman was president at the University of Maryland, Baltimore for 10 years or so, he held brunches with students in order to just talk. He just wanted to hear from students, talk to them, see what kinds of concerns they may have had, see what's going well. And in his efforts to stay as close to student life as possible, he last year started the USM-wide Chancellor's Chats. And those are similar to the brunches, except right now we're still virtual. Every time he says, I wish I could host you in person, and maybe we'll get to that this year. But what we do is create topics for conversation or groups that we want to convene, and ask the vice presidents for student affairs from each of the institutions and one regional center a month, just because we want to keep it fairly intimate, to put forth 2 students who fit whatever the topic is or mold is. When the group convenes, it is not driven by an agenda. The chancellor is not there to give a speech. He's there to get to know folks. And I think, Joe, maybe the first 45 minutes are just the folks around the Zoom talking and sharing who they are, what affiliation they have with the topic for the month. And then the conversation just opens up. It's 2 hours long on a Sunday, another Sunday. And we get those names again from the vice presidents for student affairs. The first one for this year will be next month. And the topic or the group that will convene are students who were involved in orientation or welcome week kinds of activities. So who, which of some of your colleagues that may have been orientation leaders or whatever you may call it on your campus. And again, it's not driven by an agenda, but we'll just get that group together, and the chancellor will just say, tell me what's going on. How are things going on, or how are things going? So we will just let you know how those are coming along. It went very well last year. If you want to talk to your vice president for student affairs about the monthly list, and maybe you have suggestions for who to put forward, all of that's fine. You can do that with whatever level of communication you have with your vice president for student affairs. But ultimately, I get the names from them, and it's been working out well. So we'll share that with you. We try to take a screenshot at each of the meetings. We'll have Arsalan and the team to put that on the USMSC social media. Maybe you could repost it or retweet it. And it's just another way for the chancellor and his team, because Joe and I are there, to be in touch with what students are saying, what students need, and how we may be able to help as a system office. Any questions for Joe or me? All right, Arsalan, thanks.
No problem. Thanks so much, Zakia. And I don't see Ada on the call, but Tola, do you want to go ahead and just give an update on the regions and the board of regions, on any meetings that you can discuss and share, and also the previous committee meeting that you attended last week, or this week, excuse me, or last week, sorry.
Good morning, everybody. So I believe it was last week that we had our first meeting with the Committee of Student Life and Educational Policy, which we heard the 2 universities present their ideas for new programs that we voted on approval for. And then previous to that, we did have our general board meeting. I wasn't sure how many of you guys were able to tune into that as well, but we had a lot of our introductions between the regents and other members of the board, and we also heard 2 of our university presidents speak and present ideas for the advancement of their universities as well.
Okay. Thanks so much, Tola. So we can move on to the next point, the agenda. Zakia, if you can just give me or make me co-host, I can add that onto the poll.
Okay. Give me a second. I'm gonna turn off my camera while I do it, because I have 2 different screens and I look crazy when I'm doing it. So give me a minute.
Sure, no problem. And if that doesn't work, I can always send a chat as well. But basically in the agenda poll, I will ask, I'll send 2 polls out, one for the undergrads and one for the grads. And I have a list of topics that you may choose from, and we'll discuss about those topics in the breakout room. So the list of topics that I have is student affordability, tuition and fees, climate change, COVID-19, return to campus, campus safety, student labor rights, and mental health. So while Zakia does that, we can, I guess, move on to the next topic, and we can always go back to the poll.
You are now a co-host, Arsalan.
Okay, I'm co-host. Okay, so let me. Okay, we'll still move on to the next thing, but while we're discussing, I can add those things to the poll. Okay, so we have the old business. Devon, you want to go ahead and take it from here?
Yes. So old business, normally it would be, we will approve the minutes. So Stefan has taken minutes for today's meeting, which will be the approval of minutes for next meeting. because we didn't have a meeting last month, we don't really have approval of minutes, but we just kind of wanted to put this here as a placeholder for next month so we know how to go about it moving forward. We would kind of approve the minutes of what the previous meeting would be. So each meeting, we just kind of approve it. This is what we went over, and we have it on the website for students moving forward. Just for transparency, the chancellor can see it, the Board of Regents can see it. We want everyone to kind of know what we're doing, and they can always refer back to it. Can we have the next slide, Arsalan? Sorry about that. And then we have our Board of Directors and our committees. So today is the last day to submit your resume, I'm sorry about that, resume and cover letter. So if we can go over this again, if you are a representative or you know anyone who would like to be a part of the Board of Directors. So what the Board of Directors is another part of the executive team. So Arsalan, Stefan, and I, we kind of do the planning of, you know, what our term looks like, what we want to focus on. As Joe and Zakia mentioned, like we want to kind of focus on civil engagement. It's a kind of a focus. We want to work, you know, focus on COVID. And of course, we always talk about student fees and mental health and, you know, things like that. But we kind of want to always think about like, what is it a concerning factor of a student's now, like what is it that students really need to focus on? So Board of Directors kind of focus on that, and it's always diversity and inclusion is things that's in that, like what is the now for diversity and inclusion, the communications, the marketing, getting the word out, government relations. Arsalan and I were co-directors of that last year, which kind of led us into our current positions of this year, student affairs, and then you have your ad hoc committees. Before becoming diversity and government relation co-director, I was on ad hoc committees of that. And then outside of that, you have different committees within those committees. It's always a committee within a committee. So you can always move up or, you know, work within that. So today's the last day. You submit a resume and a cover letter, and then the three of us would review it, and then we would interview. So if you know anyone or yourself, the only thing, you can't be a representative on the board, on the council, and be a Board of Directors director, if that makes sense. I hope I made that make sense. So you would have to decide. But if you know anyone, please submit. And then the next slide.
Kisley had a question, so Kisley, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it seems like you're saying that it's an appointment process, so is it not elected? I thought it was elected because when I came to elections, there was a discussion about Director of Government Relations.
I didn't understand the last thing you said.
Are the positions appointed or elected?
It's elected. Oh, so let's discuss that. So we will collect all of the, so because we want it to be a transparency kind of, like we want everything in the board to, the only thing that's elected is our positions, where we were elected by the board last year. The council last year elected us into our position. We want the same thing to be in a Board of Directors. So we get the resumes and the cover letters. We're going to review them, and then we're going to submit them to you guys. So if we can discuss this and take, I know we on like a time, but if we can just take 2 minutes to kind of discuss this. So we'll send the resumes out to you guys, and we'll send, I think so far, and Arsalan, Stefan, you can kind of jump in if you can. I think so far we have about, we have like less than 10. It's not a whole lot, but a lot of them are for government relations. I want to be honest, it's not a lot for communications. It's where we really need to fill the board. Communications, student affairs is definitely where I think diversity, inclusion, and government relations is where the students want to work. So the other two, we really need to fill that. We would like to send it to you guys and get you guys to vote on it. The only issue is our next meeting isn't for another month. So it's like, we still have to come back in a month to say, hey, this is an agenda item, we need to vote next month. So can we discuss this now? Zakia, your hand is up.
You can't vote. The bylaws don't allow a vote on the Board of Directors. You can get consensus, you can present it to the body and say, here's where we are with it. Let's discuss. Would you like to offer feedback? but that's a change of bylaws to make it so that the board votes on, so that to make the representatives vote on the board of directors. Last year was kind of, here's where we are, here's what we're thinking. Yes, resumes for the people that seem to rise to the top. Any feedback?
Now, can we do this through email that we don't have to wait a whole month? Like if it closes today, and like this week, can we deliberate and maybe have a decision within the next week or so?
You can, because even this feedback gathering process that's not bound by the bylaws. That's just something extra. So you all can design that however you think makes the most sense.
Yeah. So I think, Zakia, what you're saying is, the consultation that Yvonne is talking about, that's extra. We don't really need to do that. If we would like to, we can, but it's really just an appointment process. Correct?
Correct. It's an appointment process. Consultation is extra. Consultation was nice. It seemed to go well last year, but since it's not bound by the bylaws, you all can put whatever time parameters on that you want to, Yvonne. And I see lots of hands. I think we may have been confusing people. So I'm gonna let you get the hands together.
Okay, let me see who hand I see first. I see, okay.
I saw Chinedu first, actually. Sorry, I just saw him. Chinedu had his hand up for a little while.
Okay, you can go first.
Okay, cool. Since she said we don't have to vote, or we're not allowed to vote for this, but you talked about having 10 applications so far, and there's majority under communication, marketing, and student affairs. What happens if they are not selected for those two? Are we going to transfer them to, or are they going to be transferred to some other position? Or once you're not selected for what you want, that's the end of it?
No, they're for government relations and diversity and inclusion. Now, the option, now we would recommend, I would like to give people what they want, but no one wants communication or student affairs. So I would offer, would you like to do this? But you want to give people what they want because you want them to do a good job. But you will ultimately like say, well, the next best thing is this, but.
Okay, so you're going to propose it to them.
Yes.
And their choice to pick it if they want to.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So as Yvonne mentioned, and sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, Yvonne. No, if somebody applies for, let's say, government relations, and if they're not, if they're not selected for that position, we would ask them and say, would you mind being director of student affairs or director of diversity and inclusion, whichever we feel more fitting for them. We would obviously give them that option to them. And then also we have an option for them to be chairperson of the government relations committee or the diversity and inclusion committee, because there's a committee within a committee. So that's also an option for them as well. But we would obviously deliberate with them, talk with them, see what they would prefer. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Chinedu?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
No problem. Kisley?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time finding this particular appointment process in the bylaws. Also, yeah. And one more question: when do we deliberate on the bylaws? Can we change the bylaws for USMSC, or is that something only the exec board does?
No, we can change the bylaws. In fact, we did do that last year. But I mean, is there
that has to be a council process, Kisley. Yeah. There's a mandate that's a timed process. There's a process for that that's laid out in the bylaws. And I'm looking. Okay. I'll check my other screen and look for them. But yes, yeah, it can. I'm sorry, I jumped in on Arsalan. That can be amended.
Yeah, no, Zakia, that's totally fine. No, as Zakia mentioned, it is a council process. It's something that the council votes on. The council works on together. The executive council cannot just throw this on you and say this is the new bylaws, but it has to be done together. And we did do that last year. But if there are there any certain parts that you wanted to have a question about or weren't sure about, Kisley?
Well, not right now. I just was wondering how the process works for now. But yeah, thank you.
No problem. Tamara?
Hi. So I'll just warn that maybe some of my questions come from ignorance. This is my first year on the council. But I was wondering, first of all, if someone from the council who holds a voting position on the council is elected to one of these positions or selected for one of these positions, what happens to their seat on the council? Is there someone else from that program that is elected to that seat? How does that work?
So let's say tomorrow you applied for government relations and you're selected for that position. Then what would happen is your folks, so UMD would have to send or replace you with another person, so another proxy. And then you would take in the position of government relations. Does that make sense? So there isn't anything voting on the student council. That's a UMD or your institution kind of a issue or kind of thing. They'll handle that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So would it be the university administration selecting someone, or is it GSG selecting someone?
No, it's GSG. Yeah.
Okay. I do have two other questions. The first is, one, could you guys resend out the information since these are due today? Can you just like resend like the applications? I for some reason can't find it in my email. I'm sure it's there, but it's buried
it's just
now.
your resume. Just send your resume and your and a cover letter.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no application.
Is there any other information about these positions, and like where can we find that information?
It's in the bylaws. So if you go on the USMC website and if you go in their bylaws, you can find the roles and responsibilities for these. There's also a graphic on our USMC page, which, by the way, if you guys are not following, please do follow
it's in
us.
the chat. The kid just put it in the chat. You can click on the link.
Yep. Okay, we'll put it in the chat as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks, Akia. Yeah, there's a graphic on our Instagram page and on our Twitter page. So with the positions and the email address as well. And I think somebody else had a question. Sinead, I think you put your hand down, but do you still have a question?
I was trying to ask what's the frequency, duration, the frequency? How often do they meet for the directors, that is?
So for this one, you want to answer? Go ahead, sorry.
So with this is something that you set up within your own committee. So the good thing about this is that you kind of develop your own schedule. So our meetings are Sundays and we meet second Sundays of the month, depending on the month. Mother's Day, we kind of don't meet second Sunday, but you create your own schedule. With Arsalan and I last year, we created a schedule where we met a lot more during the Maryland General Assembly. So we met Sundays after our meetings, on second Sundays and on third Sundays. We met on Mondays after every Monday. Andy Clark has a 9 a.m. call to go over the bills that's going to be heard during session. Like we met a lot during session for the Government Relations Committee during session, but leading up to session, September through December, we met very scarce. Like we didn't meet a lot, but we just build around what we would meet about during session. So it just depends on the committees. What I will say for us this year, we really want to build around the communication and marketing teams. Like we as a executive board, we really want to help build that team, because I feel like if you build a marketing and communication team and getting the word out for our institutions, our 12 institutions, understanding who our council is, I think that it'll help for the council next year, the years to come, because a lot of students don't know who we are. We meet every Sunday. You come here, you're like, this is my first year. You don't really know. I didn't know who this council was until I came here 3 years ago as a representative, because I was the University of Baltimore's president. And I knew it was a task that I had to, it was like something on my to-do list. I'm like, I love this place. So that's like one of my main focuses, is like really understanding like the communication side of things. So it just depends on who we put into that place and how they want to meet. So developing a schedule. I do say, when I have talked to people a lot, another 8 hours out of your week to really develop your team. So that's something to think about. And 8 hours could look like something different for you, because I'm on 8 hours a day on Instagram for my own personal use, because it told me today when it popped up on my screen to say you was on 8 hours average per day. So, but yeah. Do you guys have any other questions about the Board of Directors committees before we move on to the next slide?
And Yvonne, if I may, I also want to mention one other point, ad hoc committees. So this is a process that's also in our bylaws. So any representative has the, right, to form a committee. So let's say Kisley wants to form a committee on student fees. That is totally fine. The only one kind of condition that we ask of that is that they have someone in mind that is leading that committee. So if you want to start a committee on student fees, either find someone else, or either if you're volunteering yourself to lead that committee, that is fine. But just always make sure that you have someone to lead that committee, and as long as you have that in mind, then the committee can be formed. So that is how committees are formed. And so, do you have any questions about that? I don't think any committees are being formed at the moment, but just something to keep in mind as well.
Yep.
Okay. And with that, we will move on to Nina Jeffries, who's been waiting patiently. She is from Mary Purd at the University of Maryland. So I will let her introduce herself and move on to the presentation. So Nina, if you're still on the call.
Hi.
Hi, Nina.
Hi. So yeah, my name is Nina Jeffries. I'm a student at the University of Maryland College Park. I'm a senior studying environmental science. And I'm here to talk to you all today about the Mary Purd Student Climate Action Coalition and the climate action bill we wrote called the Future Act. Next slide, please. So MSCAC is a student climate organization that started at UMD, but now we have expanded to include college students from across Maryland. And our main goal as a coalition is to pass a carbon neutrality commitment bill that we wrote ourselves last year. Next slide, please. So we formed in 2020, and this is what we have accomplished since then. We've recruited students from 8 universities in Maryland listed there. At one point, we also had Johns Hopkins and Bowie State. We collaborate with statewide environmental organizations like the Chesapeake Climate Action Network and the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We hold educational events. We have lobby trainings. We do panel events. We did a climate anxiety panel last year. We did an environmental racism panel last year. Just this last Sunday, we had a One Health panel about how climate change and public health and racism all interact in a variety of ways. We also have youth leadership development events. We work with our SGAs. Last year, we had 8 letters of support from various Maryland SGAs or RHAs at our institutions that are lucky enough to have offices of sustainability. We work with them. We meet with our state legislators, and last year, 28 organizations and over 500 individuals signed a petition to pass our bill. Next slide, please. So as I get into talking about our bill, I want to make sure that I define a couple of terms for you guys. So top line provision of our bill says carbon neutrality for all 4-year public institutions in Maryland by 2035. And what carbon neutrality means is having no resulting or net addition of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It doesn't necessarily mean no addition of carbon dioxide. It just means if you emit, you also have to sequester that amount of carbon that you've emitted, or you have to prevent it from being emitted in other ways. And we choose to do this because climate change is real. It's terrifying. It's happening. It has really scary consequences for all of us in our lives. But unfortunately, most universities currently don't have the infrastructure to completely decarbonize and be completely renewable on the timeline that we really need them to be. And so that's why we're saying carbon neutrality rather than like total no new carbon dioxide. That's the goal eventually. But for now, what we're asking for is carbon neutrality. And we think that public universities are in a unique position to sort of take on this role. One, because we sort of function as small cities. So it's like a really good case study. We've got commuters, we've got like dining halls, we've got all of these different components that really mimic cities. So they're good models for city governments, for state governments, even potentially for the nation. Also, public universities, we have a wealth of knowledge in our professors and our staff and our faculty and our students. And we have so many people that are dedicated to working on these issues from their various like origins of study. Next slide, please. Thank you. The next thing is carbon offsets. So because we're asking for net neutrality, part of our bill is going to include universities to purchase carbon offsets. So what carbon offsets do is they cancel out emissions. So basically you emit X ton of emissions. In order to get to net zero, what you have to do is you have to sequester or prevent X tons of carbon from being emitted somewhere else. So I'm going to talk a little bit about College Park because I was the College Park delegate last year. So College Park, we get the vast majority of our energy from an on-campus natural gas-fired power plant. So we've committed to be carbon neutral by 2025. And so we're not going to stop using our power plant, but what we're doing is we're going to sort of either stop that carbon from being emitted or we're going to sequester that carbon by purchasing offsets. Some examples of offsets are reforestation projects or building new renewable energy sources or making buildings more efficient. And then the offsets that we allow universities to purchase on our bill have really strict verification and additionality standards because there are a lot of valid criticism of carbon offsets and really try to address them in our bill to make sure that we are meaningfully addressing the climate crisis and we have offsets that are verifiable, they're tangible, and they're real. Next slide, please. The next thing that I want to tell you guys about is scopes. So our bill, while the top line provision is carbon neutrality by 2035, we're asking that scopes 1 and 2 be neutral by 2025. That's because scopes 1 and 2 make up the bulk of most schools' carbon emissions. They're also easiest to count, so they're also easiest to reduce. These are also emissions that are directly that your school is emitting by itself. So it's easy for the school to just make quick changes, maybe not make quick changes, but it's easier for the school to make those changes. So scope 1 is direct emissions, that being fossil fuels that your university is burning directly. So for most schools, this is mostly your fleet. For College Park, it's our power plant. And then there are a couple of other schools that use other sources of energy like petroleum or in some cases wood chips. So that would fall under scope 1. And then scope 2 is the energy that you purchase. So if your institution purchased energy from the grid, instead of purchasing just regular old energy, we're going to ask you hopefully to purchase renewable energy instead. And that's how you would make that transition. And then the last thing is scope 3. So scope 3 is where 2035 comes in. These emissions are extremely hard to reduce, and that's why we're giving another 10 years for institutions to do this. These really come from like behavioral changes. So examples of these emissions are cars from commuting, airplane emissions, and waste processing. So for our schools that are lucky enough to have the resources to have a sustainability office, they've been like tracking scope 3, but for our schools that don't have this and are starting from scratch, it will be really challenging for these schools, at least at first, to figure out what their scope 3 emission is and how to fix those things. Like where do we need to add new bus lines so that students don't need to commute every day? How can we increase the frequency of our bus lines so our students don't need to commute every day? So it's changes like that, which are the reason that we are giving another 10 years, because we really don't want to place an undue burden on our schools that don't have sustainability offices and aren't ready to totally make the transition yet. Yeah, next slide, please. This is what our bill looks like. We're super proud of it. House Bill 803, Senate Bill 835. FUTURE stands for Facilitating University Transformations by Unifying Reductions in Emission Act. We just call it FUTURE Act. We're really proud of it. Next slide, please.
As you should be. And I know, because I was on the government relations committee last year, this is an amazing bill. And unfortunately, it did not pass, but we definitely hope that we can work on this this coming year. But it is an amazing bill, and I applaud the efforts that the Mary Perk put in to drafting this bill. So great job to you guys, really.
Yeah, we've got another couple of slides. Thank you. So we just talked about the carbon neutrality. Something else that we do is we recognize that offsets have problems. So the main one is that they don't reduce co-pollutants. So for example, College Park, right? We have this power plant. It's not only emitting carbon, it's emitting volatile organic compounds, it's emitting nitrous oxides, sulfurous oxides, things that cause localized air pollution. So we can say, oh, we purchased carbon offsets from a wind farm in Texas. Sure, we've reduced our carbon, but like we haven't done anything about the localized air pollution that we're contributing to in Prince George's County. So something that we're trying to do to address this, but also still have our bill be manageable for the universities, is that we're saying that a growing percentage of offsets, if schools purchase them, must be purchased in-state in the Chesapeake Bay watershed or be designated environmental justice projects, which I can talk about at the end if there's time. Offsets must be verified. We have strict verification protocols. And the last thing is that all schools have to have at least one person dedicated to fulfilling the requirements of this bill. And that all those folks have to meet regularly, multiple times a year, to share best practices, resources, and methodologies for accomplishing these things. We hope that that will also reduce any like resource or sustainability inequities that exist among our institutions. And we really hope that it's going to create some like really cool cross-university sustainability collaborations. The schools also have to present evidence of collaboration to the Maryland General Assembly at least once a year. So we're going to hold them to that. Next slide, please. We've got a couple of possible changes that I wanted to make you guys aware of to the bill this year. As Arsalan said, it didn't pass last year, which we're sad about, but we're trying to improve it and make it better, and something that we can be even more proud of this year. The first thing is that we're thinking about adding a general education sustainability requirement for all USM schools. We're public universities. We really need to make sure that we continue to produce well-rounded and well-educated students on environmental racism, climate change, climate science. We need to make sure that students leave USM with an understanding of how these things work. The other thing is carbon offsets. We've been meeting with a lot of groups. We're going to meet with some folks from the NAACP next week to talk about climate offsets and equity. We're thinking about perhaps halting the purchasing of offsets at a certain date, or saying after a certain date, only X percentage of your emissions can be covered by carbon offsets. Something else we're thinking about is not having restrictions on the offsets, letting schools purchase whatever they want, but add in some other environmental justice provision. We're really trying to think about one of our core values is to address like environmental racism and environmental injustice as we fight the climate crisis. And we want to make sure that we're doing that effectively and in a meaningful way. So we're trying to sort of think about that language, and that might change. The last thing is we want USM to have a dedicated sustainability staff. USM used to bring in someone from the Maryland Department of Environment each year to help the schools count their carbon. It doesn't happen anymore. And College Park has moved to fill in that role. And that sort of created an uncomfortable situation where College Park is having to say, like, you didn't quite do this right, you missed something. And we think that should happen under USM as a central body, should tell the schools how to count their carbon and how to do it right, how to do it accurately, and make sure they have the resources to do that. The other thing is that the University System of California has a person who fills this role. And what that person also does is that they purchase carbon offsets for the entirety of the system, which allows all the schools to have more purchasing power and get those carbon offsets at a reduced price. So we think that having a sustainability person who works on filling those roles would be really valuable to have that in USM. And our very last slide is all about our asks. So if you guys are interested and excited in what you're hearing, we would love for you all to be able to connect us with the schools that we don't currently represent. Something that we also ask for from SGAs is we ask for letters of support, which then we ask them to submit to the Maryland General Assembly in the form of testimony. And the last thing is we got testimony from USM last year, and it was a little bit surprising. It was surprising. So one thing that we would like, if possible, for you guys to do is see USM's testimony before it's submitted, maybe make comments on it, tell them what you think should be included and how you feel about it. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're able to do all of this or any of this, but those are our asks. Thank you so much for listening. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
Of course, thanks so much, Nina. And yeah, thanks so much, Nina. Your great presentation. And again, we applaud the great efforts that the Mayor Perk's been doing. So I see a couple of people raising their hands. Anna, I think you were first. So if you can go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Arsalan. Thank you, Nina. That was a great presentation. And, UMC's, University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science, is obviously supportive of carbon neutrality. And we have some students that worked in your coalition. They are graduating, or they did graduate. So we're hoping, I think there's 1 or 2 students that are going to reach out and hopefully replace the ones that are graduating. I do, if you know, could you briefly explain why the bill was rejected by the General Assembly, and maybe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just talk more about that.
Yeah, of course. So a couple of things. The first is that the climate environment in the Maryland General Assembly is a little bit weird. Basically, the way that it's worked in past years is that the coalitions and institutions that are environmental and usually work in the MGA, they only put their resources into a couple of bills. And we were just starting out, so we weren't really able to gather that momentum early on and say, can you treat our bill as a priority? How can you support us? So it sort of fell flat at the end. The other thing is there was this weird thing happening with a bill called the Climate Solutions Now Act, where the senator who ran the climate committee in the Senate wasn't letting any other environmental bills pass through until that bill passed. And it passed through the last 2 or 3 days of the session. At that point, it was well, what can we do? The other thing is that our House committee, because it's a bill about USM, it's in the Appropriations Committee and Budget Committee, and the folks there don't have a great understanding of why climate science matters and why, what environmental justice is or what carbon offsets are. So when we had our hearing, there was a lot of questions that we didn't think we needed to explain. And so this year going forward, what we're hoping to do is we're hoping to have meetings with everyone from that House committee beforehand to explain what we're doing and why it matters and why we care about it. We're also making connections or trying to make connections with the important environmental groups early on to say, can this be on your radar? because we don't want to be forgotten about again. And yeah, we're going to do it better this year, but that's the reason. Those are the reasons why we had some trouble last year.
This is Joe. Could I have a response to that, please? First of all,
Yes.
Nina, thank you for that presentation. And I would urge you greatly to set up a time to talk to Ellen Herbst, our Vice Chancellor for Administration and Finance, because all of facilities, all of the directors of facilities around the system work with their VPs for admin and finance. Because there are a lot, I mean, the ideas here are not only incredibly important, but worthy of support, but there are lots of potholes, if you will. For example, the state of Maryland in statute says that the USM can have 104 employees, period, no more. So to suggest that we would add somebody to our staff is just not feasible. So it's some of those kinds of details that if we got those worked out, so if you would try and get in touch with Ellen Herbst and also with Patrick Hogan and Andy Clark to make sure that they know with which senators and delegates that you are talking to. The more we can be aligned in our presentation, the better off we're all going to be. So those are good things that can start being done now before session hits.
Thanks, Joe. And then Danielle.
Okay, hi. So I'm Danielle again, Danielle Ziegler, representative of Bowie State. So this is my first year on this council, but in my other life, I am a legislative director for the General Assembly. So I do have like some advice because right now we're not in session. If you could just talk to the chair, so Senator Pinsky, you should just try to find a time to meet with him and see what his concerns are about the bill and address those before session actually starts, because right now things aren't as busy as it will be during session. So right now is the best time to talk to him, Senator Rosenpep, because he was the sponsor of the bill on the Senate side. I'm not sure about the delegates. I work for the Senate. So talk to him. And then any person who had reservations, if you can set up a time to meet with them individually and kind of address those concerns. So when it comes back on the docket, they're like, oh yeah, we met with her, our concerns were addressed, and it usually pushes your bill forward. But I just really strongly suggest meeting with the chair of that committee because he has the final say. He says if the bill gets voted on or not. So just a suggestion.
And also it is very hard to get a meeting with him during session. It's almost impossible to get a meeting with him during session. So it's always best to meet with him before.
Arsalan, this is Joe again. One of the things I did forget to say was you also should set up a meeting with Dr. Peter Goodwin, who happens to be the president of UMCS, but another title that he has is Vice Chancellor for Sustainability for the system. So in fact, we do have it in the leadership. So once again, to engage some of the right people on the USM side would be a giant step forward, I think.
It's tomorrow.
Hi. So Nina, I have a quick question for you. I'm actually wondering, because we've had this conversation in the past, in terms of the carbon offsets, why the bill doesn't make provisions for actually making those carbon offsets even more local, so at the county level versus at the statewide level?
Sure. There are a couple of reasons. The first is that to a large extent, they don't exist. Maryland really does not have a lot of potential for carbon offsets. The way that carbon offsets work is they have this thing called additionality, meaning that you can't count something that you were going to do anyways. So for instance, if someone sets up a solar farm, you can't count that as carbon offsets because we have made a commitment in legislation to get 50% or maybe even 100% of our energy from renewable sources by X date. So there really isn't a lot of, it's hard to come up with carbon offsets in Maryland and a lot of states that have in the relative area that have such strong environmental laws. That's why you see a lot of wind in Texas or places where environmental laws aren't as strong. I think what we have in Prince George's County, the only offset available right now is methane capture. That's not something we super want to incentivize universities to buy We prefer that they try something like new and innovative, like planting like seagrasses in the Chesapeake Bay, or things of that sort. So we would like to, but the problem is that they don't exist, and it's hard to phrase legislation in a way like you should buy local offsets, but only if they're not methane capture and only if they're like XYZ. Like it just introduces a lot of potential issues. But that is something that we thought about, and we wish that there were more like localized, exciting, innovative offsets nearby. But great question.
And then Marshad, I think you had a question as well.
Oh, it was answered already. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Awesome. So, new business.
Arsalan, can I make one comment for Nina Lee's, but it's for the good of the order when it comes to legislative session. One of the asks that the coalition had was to see the system's testimony before it goes forward. I think that ask in particular might not be possible, Nina, but what is possible for everyone's knowledge is that when bills get dropped during the session, once the system has a stance on it, Joe or I can tell you what the system stance would be. We work with, well, first of all, that effort is led by, I think Yvonne mentioned earlier, Patrick Hogan, who is the Vice Chancellor for Government Relations, and his right-hand assistant, Vice Chancellor Andy Clark. They run all of that, and they run it in conjunction with state relations representatives from your campus. So when the system establishes a position, it is always with the consensus, collaboration, communication with, not always unanimous, it can't be. It's just too much happening, but schools are wrapped into that. There are not a crew of us at the system office making plans without considering the institutions, because you all and your campuses are where the work's gonna happen. So when the session comes around, that State Relations Council with your campus government reps gets together with Patrick Hogan, and then we'll figure out where the system is going to land on various bills. Joe or I will be able to tell you that. What you're going to find out quickly, what some of you all know, is that session moves so quickly that a lot's going to happen between your meetings. So if you are part of the Government Relations Committee, you may have more of a pulse on, a finger on the pulse of what's happening, but it moves so quickly that your meetings once a month will be on the bookends of a lot of work that has to happen for a session. However, before a bill is heard, any testimony, I'm pretty sure, Joe, Arsalan, correct me if I'm wrong, any testimony that's been put forward is available to the public once it's been submitted. So anyone would be able to see what the system said or what a school said before the actual testimony is heard, before you sit down at the table, at the virtual table it was last year. So, so we can give you insight, but actually seeing the testimony would happen before, well, once it's submitted to the General Assembly. And we will say this again because it will definitely come up there. This might not be the instance, so don't take me as saying that this bill is going to be the thing, but it has happened before that where the USM Student Council wants to support a bill or comes down on the bill is not always the same as where the University System of Maryland office sits. You all have the authority to support what you all vote on. Joe or I will tell you where the system stands and why. And ultimately you all will take that information and decide one way or the other. And what we found is that as long as the communication is open and clear, then at least everyone moves forward knowing where the other one stands. So that's just the first time you'll hear that. I'm sure it'll come back up.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Okay, next, are there any other questions for Nina? Yeah, thanks so much, Nina, for coming on. You're more than welcome to stay. But if not, thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to the next point, we have COVID-19. So this is just a question that the Chancellor wanted to ask the Student Council. He was interested in finding out how are students adjusting to online learning and or transitioning back to campus, and whether or not students feel safe on campus now that they are back. So does anyone have anything to say or anything to add on or? So yeah, hi. I don't know who that is, but
this is Jordan DeVoe from Towson again.
Hey Jordan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Should I just hop in? I'm not sure how I should do this or wait to be acknowledged.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So far, so good. I think students overall are really excited. We're dealing with a lot of transition with new students. Obviously, we have our freshmen and then our sophomores or our second year freshmen, and then our transfer students. So they're all very excited. During our Welcome to TU events as well as orientation, it just was so exciting seeing everyone back. Certain events that had occurred in the past, like that weren't necessarily huge events or really great on attendance this year. So that was really great seeing students come out for that. We, like I mentioned earlier, are having these involvement fairs every Wednesday so student organizations can kind of get riled up again. They're really excited to put on events. They've been reaching out to us as the SGA just for guidance because, you know, there's natural turnover that happens with student leadership. So you can tell how students really want to get involved. In terms of feeling safe, students overall seem to feel really good about the whole stance of the campus, especially with vaccination mandates in place. I know that certain professors, the provost is discouraging this just because the science doesn't say to do this, but say a student reports testing positive for COVID, and then the professor will cancel class or like will put everyone online for that class. When I guess there's some kind of misconceptions around the quarantine time that needs to happen. So prior to the vaccine coming out, it was that 14-day period, but now it's much shorter. So that's been a little bit of a discrepancy across campus in terms of like professors and their kind of way of handling those situations, but we have an FAQ document that's available for everyone to refer to that's come out from the COVID readiness leadership team that meets every Monday that the provost shares. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. It's really just a reading is fundamental kind of thing. Everyone taking it upon themselves to educate themselves on the COVID policies, but overall people seem excited.
That's so good to hear, Jordan. And before I call on Jessica, I'm going to send out, so the poll function for me, if for some reason is not working, but I'm going to send out a chat with all of the topics for the breakout room. So if you can just say if you're an undergrad and then choose what topic, which I will send right now. So if you can choose between one of these topics and tell me if you're an undergrad, I would really appreciate that, or if you're a grad. And then whichever one is the most popular topic, we will discuss that in the breakout room. So again, if you are a grad or undergrad, you can write that and then one topic from all the topics that I sent. And whichever one is the most popular for each student population, we will go with that one. So does that make sense? So I'm an undergraduate student, so I would say undergrad and COVID-19 or undergrad and student labor rights. So awesome. Thanks so much. And then with that, Jessica, sorry.
You're okay. So I was wondering, I know that Jordan was talking about how like they have their FAQ sheets on like quarantine rules and things from different departments. And I was wondering if the entire systems had a stance on quarantine and grading policies or suggestions or anything. Because I know at our university, it's basically professor by professor or department by department, whoever that head is. And I didn't know if there was like a general consensus or any bills or anything that people were looking at as far as grade exemptions if somebody's on a quarantine, not necessarily, and like can't come to class, but not necessarily sick. Does that make sense?
This is Joe. Yeah, that does make sense, but the challenge we have is our universities are so different from each other that we have to be very sensitive to that. So we
Yeah, and I know that's why we do by department, because I know everything is just going to be so different. That's why I just wanted to know when people ask me the question, how do I answer that?
Okay, so the system in general is repeating that we are going by CDC guidelines. But CDC guidelines can be pretty messy sometimes too, and not very clear, and some miscommunications there. So we, in fact, talked to the presidents and, as Zakia pointed out, provost, vice presidents for student affairs on a regular basis, and urge each campus to make it very clear on their website what their protocols are. And if it is done by either school or department, that needs to be very clear. And then on the school or department website, it has got to say what the process is, so that this is not just word of mouth. What we're trying to do is give enough flexibility, but say you have to put the expectations down clearly, and so that a student can follow it through, no matter exactly what the trajectory of the changes are.
Does that answer your question, Jessica? Awesome. And then Tamara, I think you also had a question. You had your hand raised.
I answered my own question by looking a little more carefully. Sorry about that.
No problem. So anybody else have anything to add? It's just anybody can add anything that they feel like adding. If that makes sense. That did not make sense. Anybody that wants to add anything to that may add. So.
Oh, I forgot to mention also, this is Jordan DeVoe again from Towson. One thing that's a concern in terms of professors canceling class or announcing to their class that someone's tested positive is just like HIPAA violations. So just making sure across the board that everyone's health statuses are being protected. So that's just another kind of concern that comes with that, but wanted to throw that out there too.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. And so basically, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is something that the chancellor wanted to kind of get a pulse on and ask the student council. And so, I think Yvonne will take back this and let him know about what we're hearing from the students across USM. So if there's nothing else, then we can move on to the breakout rooms. And based off of the chats, I feel as though for graduate students, I can see return to campus as the most common, I think.
Yeah, so I recorded all the answers. And so what we'll do in the breakout room is just dedicate a little bit of time to, there are two topics that had the most, I guess, people vote for them, but we'll try to dedicate as much time as we can to everything.
Awesome. So I can start the breakout rooms, I think, Zakia, or is that something that you need to do? Let me stop sharing first.
I think you can do it, Arslan.
Yeah, I can. Yep, I can do it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna let you choose between the undergraduate room and the graduate room. I think I will stay in the undergraduate room. Yvonne and Stefan can go to the graduate room, and Zakia, do you know where you need to go?
I'll go with undergrads.
Okay, and then Joe Bum, you'll go with graduate students, I believe. Okay.
Do we have an equal amount? Like, do we have more graduates than undergrad?
I do not know that. And also, Stefan, sorry, I forgot to ask you, what is the topic of discussion for the undergrads, and what is the topic of discussion for grads? Stefan, are you?
He may have stepped away. His camera's on.
Okay.
So the chat shows that fees and return to campus are big things for undergrads, and labor rights are big things for grad. So.
Okay, yeah. He's back. Stefan, what was the graduate topic and the undergraduate topic?
Sorry, so I was only recording the graduate topics. The graduate, we had 4 votes for return to campus, 3 for student labor rights, 2 for climate change, and then 1 for campus safety, mental health, and affordability.
So for graduate students, it is return to campus. And then for undergrads, do you mind really quickly looking at that, Stefan? So.
Oh, okay, hold on.
While he's checking that, what, Tamara, did you have a question?
Why do we have to talk about one topic?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm kind of confused. Why can't we just discuss what was most important to each group? I was just generally gonna go through the topics, try to dedicate the most time to for example, return to campus and student labor rights. And then if we had time, go over the other stuff. I apologize. Maybe I cut out a little bit, so maybe I missed it. I'm just not sure exactly what's happening right now.
Yeah, no, we don't have to talk about one topic tomorrow. This is just one topic that most people might have a thing to say. So we can start with that, but it's not really restricted to that one topic. If there's something that more important comes about while in our discussions, that's totally fine. But this is just something so that we, people can know what to, I can get an idea of what might be the most common thing.
Sorry, yeah. So for undergraduate, it looks like similarly, return to campus. What's it called? Return to campus was the most, I think, but then campus safety and fees was also right behind it. So I think it was 3 votes to return to campus and 2 to safety and fees. So, similar issues.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to assign the breakout rooms. And again, you may discuss what is a topic of discussion, or if you would like to discuss something else, that is also fine as well.
Okay.
So
how long do we have? How long is the breakout?
We have 30 minutes, correct, Ramon?
No, we have until 1:30. So
Yeah,
we actually are a little bit ahead. So, if we do end up getting out early, we can, I suppose. But right now we're scheduled until 1:30. We're actually running a little ahead of the agenda.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So can you guys see the breakout rooms?
Yeah, we can see them, Marcel.
Oh, cool. Perfect. And sorry, what is room 1? I don't see labels.
Oh, okay. That is not right.
No problem.
I told you we'll all be like IT specialists by the end of this.
It's my first time doing it, so let me.
It's okay. Take your time.
Yeah, no, we're good. Thank you everyone for your patience this meeting. This has gone fairly smoothly, I feel. So, I'm happy for our first meeting. I think we're doing pretty good.
Are we gonna have a break before these breakout rooms?
Would you like a break? We could definitely take a break.
Maybe this is the break.
Break.
Yeah, actually, why don't we call everyone back at 12:45? That's about 5 minutes. Is that okay? Or 12:46, we'll just give everyone 5 minutes. We'll come back and then we'll have the breakout rooms ready and we'll go from there.
Awesome.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, good thinking, Anna. Jesus. Yeah, actually, speaking of which, I'm gonna step away for just a minute too. So if you need anything, just text me.
Okay, got it. Arslan, if you need me to do something, let me know.
Nope, I actually got it. I figured it out. So.
Okay. Y'all take a break too if you need to, Yvonne and Arslan.
I'm gonna go get my charger before my laptop cuts off again.
That's why I had to run away. I was gonna die. I'm like,
Okay.
everything shuts down if my laptop does.
Okay, I'll be right back, guys.
Thanks.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, we can move to. Oh, one more time, Ryan.
Hi, everyone. So we're still letting people come back in, but if you guys want, the breakout rooms are available. So if you want to go ahead and join the appropriate room for you, please feel free. And once everyone gets back in, we'll go ahead and start that discussion. Sound good, Arslan, Yvonne? Cool. All right, so yeah, thanks y'all. And breakout rooms are on the bottom panel next to, share screen, record, look there if you haven't found it yet. Oh, by the way, Arslan, don't join yet.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. So is everybody else here? Can anybody else get in? We might need to assign you.
Yeah, I'm assigning them right now.
Thank you. Barbara, you're a graduate student or undergraduate student, correct?
Oh, okay. So I think, there we go.
Cool. Yeah, Barbara's an undergraduate. You got it, Arslan. Kia is also a graduate student. Rashad is an undergraduate. And yeah, Barbara is an undergraduate as well. Rashad, you there? All right, cool. Is Barbara, did she freeze or something?
Probably.
Okay. Anyways, all I wanted to say, it seems like these people aren't actually here. All I wanted to say is that I'm going to spend about like 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the session, breakout room that is, ask Joe to leave for that time so that we can discuss with a little more discretion. So just to let you know, if you want to do that as well, that's what I'm going to introduce, just a couple other things. So I just want to give you that a heads up.
Yeah, Stefan, if you don't mind, do you mind going to the undergrad room for a few minutes? Because Yvonne's in that one. I just want to go eat something really quickly and come back. I didn't have a chance to eat anything, so if you don't mind going to the undergraduate.
Is she in the graduate session then?
She's in the graduate one.
Okay, all
but
right. Why didn't she go to the undergraduate session? Okay, anyways, whatever. I don't, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm joining then, I guess. How long do you need?
Actually, it's fine. You can go to the graduate room. It's gonna be like
now,
10 seconds.
For real, Arslan, take 5 minutes. All right, just join in 5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right, I'll start the conversation. And what did you want to start discussing?
She's in the graduate one.
Okay.
But actually not.
I don't know what's happening.
Did
she go to the So anyways, we're good. So we didn't say anything. So Arslan, is there, just take 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, we're early. Cool. Awesome. Thank you for helping and moderate that, Yvonne. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Is everyone back?
Oh, and thank you for stepping out, Joe. I appreciate that.
No problem at all. Well, is the kid coming? Are the undergrads coming back now?
We told them to be back by now. So I'll text Arsalan. They should be back though.
I thought we would be the late ones. I thought they were waiting on us.
Yeah, likewise, right?
They're almost
okay,
done.
they'll be there in a minute. Got it. All right, so we'll just be one more minute. If you want to be back by 1:45, that's just 2 minutes. Just take yourself off camera for a minute. But yeah, we'll restart at 1:45.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. It appears we have pretty much everyone back. We're just going to start here in one moment.
Stefan, we lost Arsalan somewhere along the way, so.
No problem. Okay, well, in that case, I will actually take over the stream so we can just go ahead and get started. I believe we'd be at the debriefing session. So what I will do is start sharing. We can go ahead and start. If everybody wants to jump back on their cameras, that would be much appreciated. Thank you, Zakia, for the update. Do this, share screen, cool. So Zakia, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. I believe I need to be made a co-host or whatever host. And okay, Kia is still in the other room. We'll assign her to, oh, unassigned, that's weird. Okay, so I will start sharing now. All right, everyone. So we just had our session, and we wanted to take just a couple minutes to debrief if we felt that was necessary. It's 1:47 already, so we're a little short on time. We just wanted to discuss, what came from those meetings. I will say for the graduate room, I believe we had a very productive discussion about our talk with Chancellor Perman next week, as well as issues that people are having on campus, returning to campus. Was there anything from the undergraduate room that you wanted to add on behalf of, Arslan, Zakia?
We did not talk about the chancellor coming next week, so I don't know if that's something that Yvonne wants to bring up, or if we were supposed to cover that, but I'll just
no, not necessarily. It just came up. Yeah, no worries.
Generally, the undergrads talked about return to campus, some questions and concerns about compliance, differences between students, faculty, and staff, some questions about how to navigate professors who may be a little less flexible or understanding when someone is out for a COVID-related or has COVID-related absences. We also talked about collective bargaining for undergraduate students, student employees, climate sustainability questions, student organization participation and functioning, and we ended on student activism, protest, and counter-protest that Jordan will raise again next month because we realize it's an important issue, and we just got it in 2 minutes and want to spend some more time on it. So those were our topics.
Awesome. Well, that's wonderful. And we'll definitely be reaching out to you about that, Jordan. That sounds like an excellent topic of discussion. Yvonne, did you want to add anything else about this for the debriefing section at least? I'm sorry, those are the notes.
Yes, if we could go back for graduate students.
Sure.
We did talk about campus COVID-friendly safety policies. We talked about the different campuses as far as like some campuses, the wait time getting into campuses, like for graduate students, like if you have a 5 o'clock class and you have to get like commuting to campus, sometimes you're waiting 20 minutes to get on campus. To get into your campus, showing your card, and other campuses where you just walk in, where some campuses, the access, you can only get in through an access card. So just thinking about how we can use different techniques from one campus to the other, and maybe we can send that back to the chancellor to how navigate that. So that was a good topic that we talked about. And we already kind of exposed the fact that the chancellor will be visiting us next month. So if we could just kind of go into that, the debrief, if we can just move along with just the next month. We do have the sister councils coming in next month to kind of introduce themselves, because we do want to kind of work together. So we will have the sister councils visit us next month, as well as the chancellor to be one of the 2 times that he will visit us to kind of introduce himself. When USM say they care, they do care. We want you guys to know that they do care, and they are here to help us all through the transition, because we are still going through a pandemic, and we want you guys to know that, he has the chancellor listening sessions of, the student listening sessions. Is it a way that we could take this PowerPoint down? It's kind of distracting. I just kind of want to see everybody's face.
I'm trying to do both right now. So
yeah, it's just like debrief. I just kind of want to see everybody's faces. But it's
in that case, I'll stop sharing the screen then. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you. So the chancellor will be here next month. Just to kind of, we want to feel inclusive. We want to feel like a community. I think for me as president, as a council, I want us to feel like a community. I want us to feel like connected. Like we haven't been in each other's presence in over 18 months. And for us is to feel, hey, we are connected. We're not just virtual. This semester we will be virtual, but how do we feel closer? I joined the council when we could go to each other's campus and we could sit next to each other and eat food. And I kind of want to bring that familiarity to you guys, and I can't do that right now. So he'll be here next month. I keep saying it because I'm excited, because I want you guys to meet him. He's always been so nice. Joe and Zakia has always been nice and been able to make us feel comfortable and feel like it's okay. We're gonna work through this together. We're gonna work through this pandemic. So that's what we'll have next month. If we can just work through a few things, like I wasn't here in the beginning. So if I could just say a couple of things, I will send out the meeting minutes once we have those available. Just give us to the end of the week to kind of finalize those things. The emails for next month's meeting, the details for them, we'll have them to you before 2 days before the meeting. I'll try to get them out to you guys maybe about 2 weeks prior to the meetings with the details of everything, with the agenda and everything to kind of prepare you guys a little bit more. The campus reports and all will be provided in there. The agenda poll moving forward, everything will be provided for you guys ahead of time. And then I think that's all. Am I missing anything? Stephen and Arsalan, Arsalan, is he back? Yep. You got your internet back, Arsalan?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think you missed anything from the debrief talking about, from the chancellor part that you mentioned.
And then we know you lost your internet. We tried to kind of like, Zakia went through your breakout session. Did you want to add anything? She kind of touched on a lot of things that you guys touched on in your breakout session. Did you have any like special moments that you wanted to like share with the group, or?
No, I think, yeah, I mean, we discussed a lot, and I'm sure Zakia mentioned that to you all. We discussed about, campus recycling and how a lot of times labs and, sometimes don't recycle as much as they should. Going back to the climate change, we also talked about, I'm sorry, I lost my notes somewhere, but
it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's been a long meeting, guys. So I understand. So we're at one. It's okay. We're at 1:54. We used to have really long meetings. We got them shorter. Last year's council, we kind of got them down to 2 o'clock. So bear with us. We'll get better with this timing. Next month, I am going to make sure on the agenda we schedule a break. I know we can kind of get a little fatigued, but we'll schedule a break next month. Does anybody have any questions? I don't have anything else for us.
I have one thing.
Okay, Zakia.
In all of your excitement about the chancellor coming, I just want to say, and I talked about this when I talked about the chancellor's chats, and this is just kind of how Chancellor Jay Perman operates. He will not come with a speech. Yep. He's not going to come with a charge for what he wants the students to do. That's not how he operates. He's going to come. He's going to do the welcome and tell you about who he is and all of that good stuff. But when it comes down to the conversation, he's going to be looking at you all for insight. He's looking at you all to figure out what the topics are. If he has something he wants to ask, he will. But more often than not, he's going to come and say, tell me what's up. So I think given that, since we're at the end of the meeting, I would suggest, the exec team will take a look at the minutes and see if there's some topics that rise to the top from the minutes. Yep. But I would also offer them up that if you think there's something you want to raise while he's here, send the note to Yvonne, Stefan, and Arsalan, because it's going to be best if they have the topics to just, jump to if the conversation starts to lull. Or even Joe or I can say in advance, here are a couple of the things that we know the students are gonna want to talk about. And there may be a system stance or way to handle it, or it might be the first time he hears it, who knows? But I think it's gonna be the best use of everyone's time if the topics are, or several topics are at least identified ahead of time. So we can get that from the minutes, and we can also get that if you have topics you want to share with the exec team. I would say within the next week or two, so they can start putting that agenda together for a month from now. That's all I'll say. But it should be a good meeting, but it's just not, he's not going to come and lecture. So we need you to be ready to engage.
Yeah,
definitely. I just wanted to add a couple things, Yvonne. Thank you all so much. That was a really productive discussion. I think something that I wanted to share that I think at least I'm trying to foster within the graduate students is just this idea that like the successes and resources that you accrue at your university, absolutely consider sharing that with the other institutions, because that's one of our strengths, is that we do have the system that facilitates collaboration and networking. So for example, we've already had a couple different things that people share that might be relevant to other, or that seem relevant to other schools, directly relevant. Like for example, dealing with stipends. So I just think that there are opportunities for us to collaborate in ways that might not seem evident at first, but as long as we're open and communicate about what we're actually doing, I think there will be a lot of opportunities for us to, I guess, like prevent redundancies and increase our power as students. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, Yvonne.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Does anybody have any other questions or want to raise a concern or anything before we leave? I don't see any hands. No? Don't be shy. It's the first meeting. Okay. So I hope everybody has a good week, a good month. If you guys ever need anything, I'm always available. Steph and Arsalan were always available. Zakia and Joe, I don't want to just say they're always available, but they are. Just send us an email. But have a good one, everyone. I'll stay on for a little bit. If anybody want to ask a question or anything, I'll stay on until everybody gets